as well. I would not go into saying anything more about me. My head's already swelling, and I'm just praying that, God gives me the grace to do this justice. But I would say that the time is quite short. So I'm going to leave my contacts, and I know Bumi's, as she said, this is community assignment. You can reach out to me, and if I don't touch your needs today, or if I don't press your buttons, you can reach out to me through Bumi, and then we can take it from there. So, yes, I have actually been in the education space for about 23 years now. Apart from the fact that I do have that, I also have the heart of a parent. So we're in we're in this together. So please do not feel intimidated. Do not feel, oh, this question sounds so obvious. Please feel free when we get to the time of questions and answers, or by the time I finish, if there's anything that you'd need clarification, please, by all means, just make a note of it, and then I will be, by God's grace, be able to answer the question. If not, I would be able to point you in the right direction. Okay, right. So I'm going to share a few slides. That is so I can be focused, because I am a teacher, as you've heard, and I do have a lot to say. Right, so I'm going to try and get through these slides. But just before I do this, I do want to, can you see the slides? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see the slides. But I mean, I do have them right in front of me. If you can see my slides, please let me know. But before I go into talking about the slides, I want to share the outcomes. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. I'm going to share my outcomes, so that you can tell me at the end whether I've done a good job or I haven't done a good job, but it's okay. There will be a lot of information that will be shared. So the outcomes today is that by the end of this event, you will be able to support your child better. Yeah, that's the first outcome. So you would have the information to be able to support your child wherever they are, key stage 1, 2, 3, 4, you will be, or 5, you will be able to support your child better with the knowledge and the information that has been shared. The second outcome is you would have a better understanding of the UK education system. And as Bumi rightly said, I have sat in front of a number of people over the years, still having to do that, just talking through the process. It's completely different. I am Nigerian by origin, but I was born here, of course, bombarded back to Nigeria, and then came back at a certain stage in my life. But the systems are completely different, and there are some misconceptions that we have, as immigrants, that we need to kind of sort out today. So by the end of today, you would have a better understanding of the UK education system, so you can easily navigate your child or your children through the system. The third and final outcome is that you will be better informed to make the right school choice for your child. And of course, one of those choices, or one of those school types, is the grammar schools. And I would try and, I'll talk a little bit on that. But then I would share some resources that you can actually get me, my wisdom and some information from those resources. Okay, right. So navigating the UK education system. So those are the outcomes. So please, I would like you to be my judges, today, and just tick yes, that outcome has been that outcome, or that was not fulfilled. Yeah. So navigating the UK education system. Right. So the different things that I'm going to be alluding to as we speak is I would share the different types of schools, which of course would incorporate the different key stages, like I shared earlier on. So we're clear, and you can easily fit your child into whichever bracket by me sharing their ages. Okay. The second objective or aim of today's talk is to share some tips for the 11 plus grammar school prep or preparation. Yeah. The third is I would try and share how you can choose the right school for your child. Okay. The fourth one is how to support your child's learning. Because, of course, if you know how to support your child, they will be able to go through the system with less restrictions and less palaver, or stress. And lastly, just talking about how you can build relationships with your child's school. For me, that last point there is so important, because when you have a relationship with your child's school, your child would feel a lot more confident. They will be able to go into school with a bit more confidence. The school knows you. The school understands where you're coming from. The school understands your child better, because this is your child. You're with them longer than the school would. So these are the things that we would, by God's grace, cover in today's session. Right. So first of all, I would be dipping into some of the resources that I have over the years created or produced, so that um, um, those who cannot reach Shola Alabi as a person can lay their hands on Shola Alabi, but in her resources or from her resources. So I'm going to be sharing those with you as we speak, and just drawing from there, because that is where this conversation or part of this will be coming from. So the different types of schools. And I know that when Mr. Femi was speaking earlier on, he spoke about the grammar schools. He spoke about a Catholic school, which is one of the faith schools, and knowing the differences and knowing these types of that, there are different types of schools that you can send your child to, helps you know which one is the right one, and then you can choose right. So in one of the resources that I will be sharing, which is actually at the bottom there, it's one of my books called Parents Choose the Right School for Your Child. In chapter 3 of that book, I did put a lot more information on the different types of schools. Okay, so the first type of schools are the state schools. And the state schools are the schools that are around you. So they might say schools in your catchment area. What that means is the school that is around where you live. So if I'd want to use myself as an example, I live in Thurrock. I live in Purfleet, which is near Grays. The school that is closest to me is Purfleet Primary School, if it's for primary school. And for secondary school would be Harris Academy in Purfleet. So these are state-owned schools, which would be where your child will be allocated a space if they don't have a choice, right? The second type of schools are independent schools, which we would call back home private schools. And these schools are fee-paying schools. So the state schools, you're not paying anything. It's your child gets allocated a space to go to that school, right? So everybody would have a space, or everyone who does not go through the other options of making a choice or trying to make a choice for their children will be allocated a place in those schools. Independent schools are private schools where your child would have to take an exam, which of course I will talk a little bit about, called the 11 plus common entrance exams, which is different from the 11 plus grammar school exams. Yeah. So the independent schools are the private schools. They are fee paying. So if your child writes an exam to get into those schools, they would have to pay fees, but not in all cases. And I would also talk a little bit about that. Your child could be or could have access to a scholarship because they've done exceptionally well, so they can have access to an academic scholarship, or they're very good in sports and you do have documentation to prove that they've competed, they've actually done some competitions in sporting activities, yet they can have access to a sports scholarship and so on. So yes, they're fee paying, but you can get out of paying the fees if you do have proof. Yeah. And this actually involves a lot of preparation beforehand, which I will be talking about in a minute. Then you've got the comprehensive schools. So comprehensive schools are similar to state schools. Yeah. So primary state schools, secondary comprehensive schools are the schools around that are not fee paying, so it's your child gets allocated to those schools based on where you live. Okay. The next are the grammar schools. And the grammar schools are schools where your child would have to write the 11 plus grammar school exams. So the 11 plus common entrance exams, like common entrance that we do back at home, which of course you would be familiar with. And then there is a separate 11 plus grammar school exams, which gives your child access to a grammar school education, but they would have to write an exam. Also involves a lot of preparation. You've got the faith schools, and which were one of the, I think that was what Mr. Femi was talking about earlier on. So you've got faith schools like the Catholic schools. So before you could get access to a Catholic school, you would have to, there will be some criteria. So being aware of these criteria well in advance, so you're not running helter-skelter in the last minute is very important. So some of them would ask you to ask your pastor in church to write a letter of recommendation that your child is a Christian. Some of them would require that your child goes through baptism and first Holy Communion. Just being aware of what is required beforehand is very important so you can plan ahead, right? And the last are the special schools. So if your child has special needs, there are the opportunity of your child accessing extra help in what we call special schools. Okay, so those are the different types of schools that are available and just snapshots of what is required. Okay, and as I said, my book, Parents Choose the Right School for Your Child, chapter 3, has all of that information. You can lay your hands on them on Amazon, if you please. Right, so now going into the different key stages. So, of course, in the UK, your child's education is split into the different key stages. And I've put the ages there so that it makes sense to you, as an outsider. So if your child is, 4, just before the September term, so kind of like 5, 6, 7, they are going to be in key stage 1. I mean, reception as well would be, which is why the 4 going to be 5, so if your child is 4 or just going to be 4, I'm sorry, 4 going on 5, they would be in reception. If they're 5 going on 6, they'll be in year 1, 6 going on 7, they would be in year 2. So that's the key stage 1 within the education system. So if your child falls within that category, there are some key skills that they need to develop, mostly in literacy, reading, writing, and of course in numeracy, which is maths, in the basic arithmetic skills. Yeah, so there are key skills that they need to have to be able to grasp. Some are at different levels, and of course gauging those levels, knowing where your child is at is very important. And I always say this, preparing them from the onset gives your child an added advantage. So if your child is going to be accessing the grammar schools, or they're going to be accessing a free best scholarship place for those independent schools, you need to begin to prepare them right from the onset. So what I would say in simple terms is, if the required skill is for them to be able to read the we call them CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words, you extend them. So they're very good there. You extend them to the next level, and you keep doing that. There are lots of resources which I would be sharing that you could use with your child. I know that time is of essence, and I can actually feel those vibes. Yeah, we're very busy, but honestly, it is doable, if we set our minds to, and we use the resources that are available to us. Right, so key stage 2 is from 7, so 7 going on 8, 8 going on 9, 9 going on 10, 10 going on 11, and it's like the year 3 in school. So if your child is in year 3, they're in year 4, they're in year 5, and they're in year 6, that's key stage 2. So primary school ends in year 6. So key stage 1 and key stage 2 are your primary school key stages. Right, now moving into secondary school, you've now got key stage 3 and Key Stage 4. Please do not be confused. You can take a screenshot of this so you can see the ages and you can tell where your child falls into, or which category or which key stage, you know. So the first 3 years of secondary school is Key Stage 3. So year 7, year 8, year 9. So this here are the years, the school years, and this here are the ages. So if you have a 14-year-old, they might be in year 9. Okay, if you have an 11-year-old, they could be in year 6, depending on which, because of course it's before September and then after September. Yeah. So I hope this is making sense. And then you've got Key Stage 4, which is year 10 and year 11. And then sixth form or college, you know, depending on which route or pathway your child wants to go or goes, you know, they would be year 12 or year 13, which means they're the 16 and over 16, 17, 18. And then the next stage would be university or an apprenticeship or whichever route or pathway your child would like to go. Right. So I do hope I'm making sense. Right. So now I'm going to share some tips on how to prepare your child for the 11 plus grammar school, which is exactly the same because, of course, we're talking about preparing. So I always say the earlier, the better. Okay. If your child is 6, there are resources that you can use to begin to prepare your child so they're a little bit above what is expected on their level. Yeah. There is a good book, which is now online, called the National Curriculum. And the National Curriculum covers the skills that your child should know right from the onset, foundation stage, Key Stage 1, all the way to Key Stage 5. Just Google online, you know, the national curriculum, the objectives or skills my child needs to learn at age 5. You know, it would show you those skills. And as I said, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Bumi, and then you can reach out to me after today and I can point you in the right direction. There will be a lot to do if I had to go through, because I understand that there are different ages and parents with different children at different age or different stages of the education and pathway. So being able to, or making sure that you start early is my tip number 1. Okay. And what I have done is I've actually got my Choose the Right School, and I'm just going to read through chapter 10, some of the tips that I would want to leave with you today. So at least you do have something to start working with. If you do have a child that is in year 5 at the moment, year 4 at the moment, year 3, if your child is in year 6, unfortunately, they've passed the 11 because, of course, they would have taken the exams last in September. So this applies to children who are in year 5 and below. Does that make sense? Because the grammar schools are for secondary schools. If your child is in year 6 at the moment, they've actually cut the cutoff for them to do the 11 plus exams is passed because it was in September last month. But then you can also get your child to access the 12 plus or the 13 plus, which of course they would have started secondary school, but you can then reach out to the grammar schools and see whether they have any spaces for the child to come and write an exam to go into year 8 or year 9. If they miss that bracket, you can work, or they can work exceptionally hard, get the right GCSEs, and then cross over to do their 6th form in a grammar school. So it's not a case of, oh my goodness, it's all over for my child. No, not at all. You know, you can actually work with them where they are at. Okay, I hope I'm making sense. Right, so the first tip would be to create a study plan. And what I mean by that is, at every stage of your child's education journey, there must be a time created for them to sit down and do some work. I'm talking about not just the homework. Homework is the barest minimum, you know, so starting with the homework and just doing a little bit more. For a 5-year-old, it could be just getting them to do a bit more of their reading aloud, guided reading, just getting them into the culture of doing a little bit extra every day. So, I mean, depending on your routine as well. I mean, I'm one who believes, and that's why I did say at the start, I'm also wearing the cap of a parent as well as a teacher. You know, I'm one who believes that we can put priority in place for things that really matter to us, you know. So I remember when I was in mainstream school, so I was teaching in school for a number of years, and I had to be in school at 8:30 because of course you have to be in before actually 8:20 because we had staff briefing before the children come in. And my children were little then. And of course, dad had to go out to work as well. So what we used to do was I would wake them up a bit earlier than usual, 10 minutes when they were in the lower school years, you know, and dropping them off at the childminder or dropping them up before I begin to get onto school, I will give 5-10 minutes in the car to listen to them to read. You know, it was tough, which meant I had to get up very early, get them ready, get them up earlier than usual. But then they cultivated the habit of getting up early because, of course, by the time we get back from school, they're tired, I'm tired, we might not get the same freshness. But also knowing your child, you know, because some children are not early, they're better off in the evening. So just understanding your child and working with your child. So number one, create a study plan. Have a plan. Communicate this with your child. It doesn't matter their age, I can assure you. Just say to them so that you can be special at or smarter at school. Kids want to hear that. Oh, I'm very smart. We're going to be doing a little bit more. Of course, the older they become, you begin to make the adjustments because, of course, they're older and wiser. But because they've cultivated the habit, they can see the impact of that little extra on their schoolwork. Hey, wow, I'm doing well. Then it then motivates them and encourages them to want to do more. Yeah, so create a study plan. Have a list of weekly routines, you know, the time of the day. So the study plan, I've spoken about having a study plan, talking about the having a routine in place, the time of the day. So if your child is an early person, you can maximize the morning. If your child is a late person, maximize the evening. You know, that would mean, of course, you doing a bit more planning, maybe sorting out dinner before going to work. When they get back, they have dinner. Then you can do, you know, it is tough. Trust me, I know, and I can feel you. But it's just knowing that the outcome at the end of the day is what, you know, we're looking up to, you know, looking on to, you know, I don't want to start preaching, sorry, you know, but just looking at the joy. You know, Jesus looked at the joy that was set before him, so he endured, you know. So it's just a bit of endurance, you know, and I'm actually just pleading, you know, on behalf of the children, right? So this would also depend on the age of the child, right? So encourage and talk with your child. So make them realize or understand why we're doing this. If your child can actually see, visualize that, oh my goodness, if I do a little bit more, I will be top of my class. Or if I do a little bit more, I would make progress. Then I'm sure they will at some point buy the idea and want to work with you. The younger, the better. But of course, the older as well, you can look for people who can talk through your child and get this into them. Yeah, right. So use a planner or use a calendar. I do have a planner as well. Parents Get Organized, you know, that you could tap into. And in that planner, it actually gives you the opportunity to write out, you know, what your child's goal is with regards to their academics. Oh, he was below expectation in reading last term. We want to get to expected, you know, within the next 6 weeks, so the next half term, and then what you're going to do. Yeah, are you going to get him to read 3 times a week? Are you going to get him to articulate what he's read? Are you going to get him a tutor to help him? You know, you write out those steps, you know, so you get a planner, get a calendar, okay? Avoid distractions. Yeah, That is the number one from experience, but as a parent and as a teacher, number one problem or issue with our children not getting themselves into the place whereby they can access these exams and ace it and do exceptionally well, apart from their ability, which can be worked on, is the distractions. Yeah, the phones, the internet, the tablets, television. I'm not saying take it away completely, but it has to be managed. And this, your child needs to understand that. So please, distractions needs to be avoided. Yeah. And the last, I think, actually, no, there's a few more. Let them try different strategies. So I believe in understanding your child's learning style, and I would just allude a little bit to that. So your child could actually be somebody who learns visually. How am I doing for time? Please let me know. Your child could be someone that learns visually. Yeah. So they see things and it sticks.
All right, so far. Yeah.
Your child, pardon? Sorry, Mr.
No,
Femi?
I said the time's okay. It's just,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So there could also be people who listen and they grasp things. But what I find is when your child can actually explain the concept. Yeah. When I teach children, I teach them the process. Yeah. Because if they can grasp the process and they can retell it, then they're done. They understand the concept. Yeah. So try different strategies. Get them to look at, they can learn through a YouTube clip, a 3-minute clip on explaining a verbal reasoning technique, and then shut it down, do a few questions, let them tell you the process. So just get them to use different strategies, yeah, which would match their preferred learning style, yeah, which of course be them visually seeing things, hearing them use the different strategies. The next one, is the nutrition. Making sure that they do have a good, healthy, balanced diet. It really helps the brain cells. There's a lot of research around this. And this is still, oh my goodness, I think I've gone forward. Yeah, these are still the tips on preparing your child, making sure that they're fully ready. So their nutrition, checking up on them regularly, just finding out how they're getting on. Even if they're going for tuition, just checking with their tutor periodically. How is he getting on? How far or how close is he to acing these exams? Yeah. And lastly, speaking positive words. Yeah. I know with school, there are lots of labels. I'm there. I've been there. But as a parent, it's your responsibility to negate those words. I'm not saying that we should be. I'm not saying to falsify the situation. No, but when you're doing the work, you're also speaking positively over your children. So you can obviously tell your child, I know you can do it. We're not there yet, but with what we're putting in place, you will definitely get there and you would go over and beyond. So using those positive words, letting your child actually hear those words on a consistent basis does help, and this has worked over the years. I have been doing this. My daughter is 25, 26 in a couple, actually next week, Friday, and I started this when she was 7, so for about 19 years. And honestly, we've had children come through us who were nowhere, but because of parents working with us, using the right resources, saying the right words, these children have gone on to do well and get access into grammar schools. So it's not that, oh, my child is very low. No, depending on where your child is at, if they're in year 4, get them moving. If they're in year 3, equip them with the right resources. If they're in year 5, you need to actually put your feet on the accelerator, not braking at all. But then you need to think about your child. Do they have the capacity to retain, so that's why I always say the earlier we start, the better. Right. How to choose the right school for your child. Yeah. There are 2 things, actually 3 things that I would, share just get this book, How to Choose the Right School for Your Child. The first thing would be, I mean, I'm not one of those that would say one school is better than the other. No, because of course, it has to be the right school for your child. But what I would always suggest is wherever your child ends up, wherever your child, whatever school, you need to get involved. You need to know what is going on. You need to develop a relationship with your child's school. Yeah. So every child is different, is my mantra. So I've got two of my own and many others, my many children. And they're chalk and cheese. My daughter, who's my number one child, was very compliant. And I'm sure if you have more than one child, you would see the same as well. She was very compliant. She was like, oh, you get through this, and amazing. Are there any more questions that I can do, mommy? And that was my child number one. But my child number two, oh my goodness, he is the one that I say this, he's the one that actually walked me into my destiny. He's the one that actually put me in where I am, sitting here and talking to you about this. Because if I only had my child number one, I probably would be a judgmental, not the best parent or teacher that you'd want to speak to, but my child number two was completely different. So my mantra is, every child is different. So the first thing that you need to do to make the right choice is to identify your child's needs. Yeah. What does your child need? One school might be good for child A, but not the best school for child B. My child number one was more academic inclined. My child number two was more sports. And because thank God, I know was why I could actually mellow, because I remember initially, I thought, God, I asked for a child. I mean, this boy is, God bless him, but he actually walked me, as I say, into my destiny. And he's helped me help so many other parents and children over the years. I mean, if you kind of look, I know I've blurred my screen. His medals. I mean, there's no more space downstairs in the living room. So we've had to, kind of get some space for him up here. So identify your child's needs and match it with the school that You're going to have to do a lot of research, or you're going to have to employ someone who will do it for you. But I would advise you do it yourself, because then you know your child. Yeah. So identify your child's needs, go around, do your research, look online, visit the school's website, and look at the school. Yeah. That's on offer. So knowing your child, knowing what they're good at, knowing your child's personality as well, and then match them with the school. So you need to have a flow or a feel for the school by looking online, going in to visit, and then make the right choice for your child. Right. Supporting your child at home. I have said quite a bit on that as well. But in my book, Parents Understand Your Child, there are quite a number of ways by which you can actually support your child at home. And one of them is set goals with your child. Yeah. Homework, have a homework policy at home. You get through your homework after you've had a snack after school, and then you can rest, or you can relax, or you can do a bit more depending on, where your child is at, so helping your child set them goals and set them targets. Yeah, it could be as easy as you complete 2 pages in your extra book every evening. And then, of course, you go on and check them to make sure that they've done it. Okay. Apart from that, have a routine, set routines in place. Yeah. As I said, we used to have back then morning routines. We used to have after school routines and bedtime routines, so that things run smoothly. You're not pulling your hair out. Of course, there will be some good days and not good days, but then the good days will increase and the not good days will reduce if there's a routine. Sorry, I'm having to project a lot on you, but honestly, it can be done. We can do all things, the Bible says, through Christ. Yeah, I mean, please apologize. I'm a woman of faith, so that might come in from time to time. Right. Review the goals as well. So sit down with them and say, oh, how do you think you've done with regards to what we've said, and then have a reward chat. So let your child know that when they've put the work in, there is a reward. You're compensating them. And of course, the opposite, there are sanctions. Yeah, the opposite of rewards are sanctions. Yeah. And when I say rewards, I remember with my child number 2 back then, because he actually, he made me work hard. I would not deceive you, but I'm grateful to God for the grace. It was just then it used to be 5p lollipop. Of course, I know we would go to the dentist, but hey, if that was doing the job, then I might as well continue to do it. Sometimes we sit back and we laugh about these things, but get them a reward chat. If you have a good week, and I remember when I pick him up from school back in the day, he would be actually sitting down and waiting for his teacher to give the report. Oh my goodness. If it's a good report, he's, oh, Mom, are we going to the lollipop shop? Mommy, are we going to? Yeah, yes, we are. But if it's the reverse, you're not going to get a lollipop. Then it used to be the DSI, those DSI. I don't know whether, like the tablets of these days, you're not going to play on that this weekend. Not at all, because you have not. So as there are rewards, there are also sanctions as well. Right. So supporting your child through extracurricular activities as well. So if they're good at racing, you can let them go to the local athletics club. If they're good at chess, it helps their thinking. Just supporting them with some extracurricular activities will do. Right. So building relationships with your child's school. This is the last slide I'm thinking. Right. So it's important to check in with your child's teacher or teachers if they're in secondary school. And this is what I always encourage. I mean, I'm actually sitting back now as a classroom teacher, and I'm now, I can remember the parents who kept me on my toes. So if a parent sends me an email to say, oh, Jason has had 6 weeks, I just wanted to check how he's made his progressed in his science lessons. I know last term he was a level 6. Has that moved, or what can I do to help him at home? I'm like, oh my goodness, Jason, I need to keep an eye on Jason because I know mom or dad will be sending me that message every 6 weeks, every half term. So building a relationship with your child's school helps your child. And when I say building a relationship, it's not when things go wrong, it's when things are rosy. So you might just want to send a thank you message to say, oh, Jason came home to say that Miss Alabi spoke to him about ways to improve his technology, then send a thank you message so that when there is a balance in the thank yous and the questions or the concerns, then they see you as a parent who is balanced. So build those relationships, contact them, find out who the contact person is or the form tutor if they're in secondary school, and just from time to time just send a message through to school to check on how your child is doing. Don't leave it till the day your child comes home and says, oh, I've been bullied, or he was mean to me, or just try and build those relationships with your child's school teacher, your child's form tutor, your child's reception lady. Just build the relationship. Show up once in a while. Take the day off work and just go in. And sometimes you want to ask, oh, I'm off on Fridays. Can I support, with your child's classroom? Just build relationships with your child's school. It goes along. Don't say, oh, I don't know anything, or I don't know. Sometimes they need an extra hand to help with taking them on school trips. Of course, they would make sure that they do the right checks, So if, say, for example, you're working with the NHS, or you do have a DBS or CRB, you can just, because they would ask for those things, put yourself forward, build those relationships with your child's school, because it would help your child's confidence as well, because at the end of the day, it's your child at the center of it all. Right. So these are some of the recommended resources that I do have and I've been sharing from. And if you do want, to take advantage of any of these, please do reach out to me or just check them on Amazon or check online. And thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I do hope, going back to the outcomes, I have been able to share how you can support your child better. I do hope that you do have a better understanding of the UK education system, knowing the key stages and where your child falls into. And I do hope that you're better informed to make the right school choice for your child. Thank you very much for listening. Oh my goodness, 11:53. Yeah, I'm handing back to either Sister Bumi or Mr. Femi.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't even know where to start from. I'll hand over to Femi. Thank you so much. That was quite extensive. A lot to learn. I can't even begin to. I don't want to go back to part 2 of the lecture and all that because of the limited time. But thank you so very much, Shola Alabi. You've actually broken things down in a way that it's easy for us to understand. And please feel free to ask questions. This is going to be on YouTube, so you can always go back to it. I mean, for those who and watch it over again, you can link up with Shola. Shola, if you don't mind, if you can put some of your links in the chat box, and you can also connect with us if you know to connect with her. But you can connect directly with Shola if you want. We'll now go to questions. Wow, questions. Let you know. I'm sure we may have things in mind that we would want to ask. I would leave that to Femi. Is going to be moderating the questions in the next few minutes. I also want to mention, apart from Shola being an educationist, a qualified teacher, she also runs a travel business, which is another good stream of income for those of us who are looking into that. But let's focus on the education. She can leave details of that too for now. So Femi, I hand over to you to moderate the questions. Yeah, thank you. Questions, please. Questions. You can let us know, or you can ask. You can put the questions in the chat box. Yeah, if you want, or you can ask directly, whichever is convenient for you. Please feel free. Femi, I hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shola. I think that's been very, very inspiring. I think one of my takeoff from what you said is it's about studying your child and the kind of school, try and pair. Not every child is meant for every school. I think that's what I get from them. Not every child is meant for every school. And you need to try to observe your child and, search and see the school that would really, fit for that child. And, it's good to build a relationship with schools as well. Because many people have many ideologies of how, what you want your child to be, what you feel is the best school for your child. So anyway, we're going into questions. Yeah, before that, I think there was a question somebody asked me, and I think I should just put that to you. What would you consider the best? I mean, this something I discussed with someone. What would you think? What kind of school has more impact on when you're moving from key stage 2 into
secondary?
So
Okay.
what kind of is it grammar school, or what kind of school brings the best outcomes for children? Well, based on your experience. Some people say grammar school because you go everywhere, everybody's just saying grammar school, like grammar school is the solution to the world's problem. But sometimes you see people go to other schools and then you're like, oh, okay, this person is doing well, but this person, they actually go to a grammar school. But based on your experience, what do you have to say, please?
Yeah, you're putting words in my mouth here, Femi, but I will definitely hit the nail on the head. Right. By me sharing the differences between those schools, so I mean, this is specific primary into secondary school. So with the grammar schools and of course the independent schools, your child will be writing an exam, and those exams, I would not lie to you, are getting tougher by the day, which means your child has to be very prepared and ready. So if your child writes that exam and they do exceptionally well, they would be offered a place, which then means every child your child will be contending with has gone through that rigorous experience, which means they're more like the creme de la creme, if that makes sense. So it's not the end of the world if your child doesn't get a place, because they would have gone through the rigors and then they would be better off than them not doing anything at all. But if your child can actually jump over the hoops and the loops and get a place there, they will be competing with, some of the other best, which means you're going to have to make sure that your child stays on top of things. I used an example, my children, the both of them. My child number one went to one of the top grammar schools in the country because she is more academic. And as I said, she was a compliant child. She's the child that would want to do more, then I actually thought, oh my goodness, every child should be like this, until child number two popped out. And he was not as academic as his sister, but because we'd already started from when he was younger, I started my daughter at age 7. He started at age 5, because of course they were more or less, walking through the age appropriate resources, by the way. So by the time he got to that stage, he wrote the exams, he passed, but because of his attention was divided, should I say. So he was doing quite a lot of sporting competitions all around the country, and of course with the academics. So he ended up in an independent school, and he was offered a scholarship, if that makes sense. So I don't knock any school. No, that is definitely not my style. But the difference between your child ending up in those exam schools is they will be contending with the top achievers. But if they're in a comprehensive school or the state schools, it's just everybody, that they will be contending with. But then that doesn't mean your child cannot excel and do well, because of course, as parents, you're keeping an eye on things, both at school, and then of course at home, making sure. And we've had children. I wouldn't say that every child that we have tutored for the 11 plus has gotten a place. No, I would be lying if that's, no, that's not the case. But the knowledge that they have gotten, they get into the comprehensive schools and they're put in the top set straight away. And of course, they would have to maintain that. And they might finish, or some would actually go through the first or second year. Will encourage, you can get your child to do the 12 plus or the 13 plus if there are opportunities for that. And then they can cross over to a grammar school in between, or they finish year 11, and then they can cross into a grammar school for their A levels, or their sixth form. So but getting your child through the 11 plus, going into a grammar school, gives them that added advantage. I hope I've answered that question, Femi.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's okay.
Yeah, Susan has a hand up. Susan, she's had a hand up for a while. So yep, you want to ask your question?
Good
Susan?
afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Go for it, Susan.
Thank you,
You're
so much.
You're welcome.
Auntie Shola has been an amazing person. I found a mom in Auntie Shola. I'm not here to market Auntie Shola, but I feel so home with Auntie Shola, even though I try and come back whenever I need her. But no, this is not me using her, but this is me feeling like she's a mom. Thank you so much. She actually shared the link with me because I had this discussion with her. I was like, okay, I can jump on this. And I'm glad for all what you've shared with us today. So my question is, I've got the older one in year 4. I've been all over the place. This is the first time that it's like I'm before the deep blue sea. In the first time in the academic support of my children, I've always been at the top, but the 11 plus is so drowning. It's like overpowering me. I have been everywhere researching, and I want the best for them because I know the potential they carry. And when you were sharing about your kids, it resonated with me because it seemed like this is what I have at home. Perfectly. For her, the older one at year 4 now, she's driven. She's someone that you could easily discuss goals and objectives, and she buys in quickly, and then she just fire on. You could see the resilience, you could see the passion. You don't need to talk to her about homework. She comes back from school after dinner, she gets her homework done, even when like, no, I have to finish it to this number of one before I, she's organized. And that has really been helpful. Where we are now, what can I do? Where can I start from? What resources can I use? Should I start with tuition? Am I okay supporting her at home? To be real, the verbal and non-verbal is so new to me. I don't even know where to start from, but I want the best for her. Where do I start from?
Okay, well done. And I would applaud you as well, Susan, because just to put a bit of context in, Susan reached out to me on Facebook. I've never met her. I don't know her, but I mean, she did ask me a question. This must have gone back many years because I think she was in year one then.
Yes.
So when Susan reached out to me again this week, and I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I then shared the link with her. So a proactive parent, I would say Susan is. So what I would suggest is I can share some resources with you online for verbal and non-verbal reasoning. For maths and English, I always suggest the bond assessment books. Yeah, because if your child can access those books, and then I would suggest you start with her age, so like 8 to 9. Yeah, 8 to 9. If they struggle, and this is for the benefit of others who have children in that age bracket, you might just want to go down a little bit, so you can go to the 7 to 8, just to help their confidence, so they will be able to access that, fly through, and you would obviously have to check. So that also comes in with some form of responsibility, parental responsibility, just get through the 7 to 8, just so they're, oh, I can do this. And then you get them to do the 8 to 9s. And yeah, where they struggle, if you can help and support them, you teach them the concepts. That's the parent. Sometimes, depending on the child, you might not need a tutor until they're in year 5, but you would have done the foundation work, because of course tuition is not cheap. It's an added expense, and in this day and age, I know I shouldn't be saying that, but hey, in this day and age where you've got the crisis, there's the cost of living. If you're prepared to do the work yourself to a point whereby now she would need the help, just so that the tricks and the tips, we can fine tune, then you can do that. So bond assessment, maths and English, you can get the verbal, but then there is a YouTube site that I even teach with called Lesson Aid. I will put the name in the chat box. Just Google Lesson Aid verbal reasoning, and this young guy, which is why I love using it, because it's relatable to the children. He's done just short clips on how to tackle the verbal reasoning techniques and non-verbal reasoning techniques. So you can also use that. So if she's a self-starter, she's motivated, she can sit down, you can get her to watch those, and then she can then do some work based on what she's learned. So that could
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'll have one more question. I know there are others waiting. How soon should, because I've heard a lot on discussions around the grammar schools. Do you think it's beneficial to move towards the environment that the school is ahead of time before the registration, or after the registration?
The better, the earlier, the better. If you do have the capacity to do that, because it would give your child an advantage. So if you're in the catchment area, because over the last couple of years, there has been quite a lot on catchment. So if your child, of course, the opportunity will still be there, but then your child would have to be scoring almost 100% to have access, because of course it's mostly merit. So, but if you're in the catchment, your child can actually access the catchment mark. So if you can, the earlier you are in the area, the better for your child. Does that answer the question, Susan?
Yeah, thank you. My network is just playing off. Thank you, Auntie
Okay.
Shola. God bless you, and I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shola, for answering that question, and Susan for that question as well. Yeah, there's someone on the bus who wants to ask a question. Before he puts his question down, he's not put it yet. Yeah, there's a question that these are questions I've spoken with people. I'm just bringing it up here for you.
Sure.
So when somebody goes to a grammar school and then gets into university, somebody goes to maybe an independent or a normal school or a comprehensive, gets into the university, and they both come out, and trying to get a job. Do you think, okay, like I know someone who has 2 kids, they didn't go to grammar school, and they came out with a first class.
Yeah.
But somebody who went to a grammar school, went to the university, and also did very well. I'm saying when they want to get a job, do you think, do they kind of look at that grammar school stuff? I don't know. Does that really?
I don't think so, because the outcome is what matters. So I will encourage the gentleman to just encourage the children to put their best foot forward. If they've applied for a job and they both have a first class, I'm sure they will be invited for an interview, and it's their interview performance, how they perform during the interview, that will offer them the job or the position. There are so many other outside bodies that can help a child who hasn't gone to a grammar school to learn some of the soft skills that maybe someone who's gone to an independent school or someone who's gone to a grammar school may have. But they've gone through the same pathway. They've gone through university, same university. They've come up with a first class. Hey, they're now parallels. So they can, it depends on how the interview that would offer them the job. Of course, before they get to interview, the sifting process, they might look at that, but I don't think it puts them at a disadvantage because they've come out with the same outcome. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Toby has a question. Toby, can you go ahead and ask your question?
All right. Thank you so much for all you have shared with us. So my question is, now we're, still talking about grammar school. So my question is, for grammar school, I know getting into the grammar school is one thing, and doing well is another thing. And so, but for both cases, if one does well in a grammar school, now we know that there are universities in the UK. There are top universities in the UK.
Yeah. The Russell Group universities, yeah.
Yeah. So does it look like, does having gone to a grammar school gives a child an upper hand, opportunity to get into those top universities? Just like you said, outcomes is also very important. But I'm just saying, is going to a grammar school, doing well at grammar school, does that give a child the opportunity to get admitted into those high-end schools in the UK?
Okay, the universities, right.
Yes.
The good news is universities would offer places based on grades. I know they would offer, before results day, provisional offers based on their predicted grades. But if a child gets A star, 4 A stars, and they go to a comprehensive school, and a child who got 3 C's and went to a grammar school, they would obviously offer the child with 4 A stars. So it still boils down to the outcome. So it doesn't matter, because of course every university would have their criteria. So some of them, say for example Imperial College, would say 4 A stars or maybe 3 A stars, 1 A, you know, depending on the cost. So another thing is just going to look at, and it's all online. It's a free resource looking at universities and their requirement, and just walking your child through to get those requirements anywhere they go, even if they're at home. I mean, I know that we're not supposed to do that in this country. A child has to be in education, but if they get those grades, they're going to be offered a place. Doesn't matter where they go. Yeah.
Okay. So it boils down to working with the child to meet those requirements.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
It's even the same with offering them sixth form places. So some people would have gone to grammar school from year 7 to year 11 and would not get a place to actually continue their sixth form there because they did not make the required grades. So people from outside that have put their heads down, they've got the grades. That's how they get spaces into the grammar school to do their sixth form, A levels. So it's still down, which is why it is so important to just make sure that your child is on that pathway. So having a plan, where are we going? Okay, this grammar school requires that I have 7 sevens, you know, and I have an 8 or 9 in maths and English. That's GCSE to get into the A level. Put your head down, have a plan. How are you going to make those requirements to get into the A level sixth form? So it all boils down to the results wherever you come from. Yeah?
Okay. So another question, ma'am. Does your I mean, you talked about parent planner the other time, one of your resources.
Yes.
Does it have this planner where you can, you know, check and tick, like, you know, you're checking this done and all of that? Does it have?
Yeah, it does have it does have, I don't understand the question, but it does have monthly, it's like a monthly planner. So for January, you do have important appointments, you have extracurricular activities, you've got the dates and reminders. There's also a section where you can actually put your homework planner or your study planner. There is a section where you can have half-term reviews, half-term goals, where you can set your goals. There is a place where you could review those goals. Yeah, so if that is what you're talking about, and it's got a place where you can write the routines.
That works as well.
With the child, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much again. Thank you very much for that. So we've got somebody on the bus. He's put his question down, and I'm just going to read it briefly. So he says, I've got a 3-year and a 6-year-old. Oftentimes, when I put a screen restriction on my 6-year son, I might just allow his younger sister some more time, but she seems to not be able to handle him not being with her. So she always wants him to be with her all the time. And she starts crying. And then suddenly I give up and allow him to join her. Please kindly help with the informative YouTube channels to engage my 6-year-old son. And he also loves to draw. Can you advise my activity I could register him with to enhance his skill of his? Thanks. I'm really getting impacted. So he's thanking you for everything, but also concerned about his 6-year-old being engaged, and the 6-year and the 3 years old always wanting to be together. That's what I understand by the question.
I mean, thank you very much for that question. I mean, and to be honest with you, this is the best age to make an impressionable, impact for them. This has been a very long time ago. I mean, my youngest is 20. So what I may suggest is, rather than, I mean, there has to be a balance between the tablet or those high sensory activities and doing activities such as reading or even the drawing. And even the 3-year-old can also begin to scribble. So you might just want to, so there has to be a balance between the both of them, because what you don't want is them getting used to, I mean, and I know it's a challenge, getting used to just being on the tablet, because it then becomes difficult the older they get. So this is the time to begin to incorporate other activities. I'm not sure I have any. There was Education City was one of those that we used for our children when they were younger, because they were games, but they were learning games. But it was a subscription. We had to pay a subscription for it, but I don't know anything about that now in recent times, because it's been a while. So educationcity.com is, but you can also kind of Google educational activities for a 3-year-old and or 6-year-old, but then it needs to be capped, because they would still have to write. Yeah, so that would be the best way to answer that question from me. I don't know whether there's anybody here who has that experience of resources that they could share to help the gentleman or woman. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Susan, do you still have your hand up? Or...
Yes, not a legacy hand. Thank you. I just thought I should maximize this opportunity, Auntie. My younger son, he is kind of a specially gifted child, such that even though he's not looking at you and you're saying something, he retains it accurately. But he's energetic, and he's 6, almost 7. And his teacher, they say, oh, look, he's the only person that picks things up just once, exactly how I said it, without deviating.
Wow.
But I just found that a few months ago to present, he's been more energetic. He gets his homework done, but I just feel that probably he's strange to me because he's a boy. I don't know. He's not just calm, he's energetic. How can I manage him? Because I know that you did mention that you started your daughter from 7. He's got lots of potential and I want to maximize it. How can I support him?
Okay. If he's
preparing him towards
the exam, yeah. If he is full of energy, then you need to get him some activities that would help him expend that energy. And it kind of brings some memories back with my child number 2, where we had to engage him in football, athletics, basketball, just to expend that energy. So you might want to try that. Find out what he is good at. I mean, because if he has a great retention and he is very full of energy, he needs to actually expend that energy. But I know it would take a lot out of you as the parent. But I'm sure you would be really glad you did, because as I said, my child number 2, he went through, in fact, even university, he was offered, just by reading his personal statement alone, he was offered a football scholarship. So putting them, so there's so many opportunities that are available, but just the sacrifice at the beginning would come a long way, or goes a long way. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
God will help us.
Thank you very much. I will be wrapped up very soon. I think maybe we'll just take one question. Yeah, I think I still have one question to ask. I mean, these are based on interactions I've had with people over time. Sometimes after this, I'll leave that with Boli. Sometimes grammar schools tend to be away from maybe where you stay. So you have a grammar school somewhere there, miles and miles apart, and then you go for this, they have this like open day where you go, and then they do their stuff, and then you go to this other, and they're just far apart. And then you find a school, which is not a grammar school, which is not, just maybe kind of like standard or maybe kind of outstanding, but it's not a grammar school, and it's close by. And I find people making that decision and saying, you know what, these grammar schools are just too far. I'm just going to put my child here where I can just monitor. It's a good school. Yeah, so I don't know, what do you have to say about such decisions? Or did you have your grammar school close by for your kids?
Nope. I mean, you definitely don't want to start me off. Somebody said convenience. If your child has the potential, I mean, my I don't want to keep using examples of my children, but I do have parents who, in fact, even this year, because the results just came out a week and a half ago, who they would have to jump on a train and then jump on a bus close to the school. It depends on what you really want for your child. If a child is done exceptionally well, in fact, I am on the case of the parents. I have had to physically drive some children in the past to the station just for their parents, because I see this child is full of potential and I know that they will excel. In fact, some of them, I mean, I had my birthday was last month. I had one of them come and took me out for a full spa day. You know, she is a top lawyer in London as we speak, you know, but because of convenience, and I understand we're going to work and all of that. All that is required is just taking 1 week and helping this child navigate that train journey. And remember, they're 11, they're not the 5 or the 6 or the 7 anymore. You know, they can do it. They can. I mean, that's a child. You would know your child, obviously, you know, but if there's a child that's kind of has struggled through, did not make the exams, then there is a school next door that is outstanding, you know, but not doing a child injustice because of convenience. No, I would not accept. Sorry, I don't agree with that.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, it's you know, these are questions.
My goodness.
We have Toby's hands up, and I think we'll just take it from there. That's going to be the last question. Toby, can you
wait,
go on with your
yeah,
question?
after we're just going, that'll be the last question. And please, you can always, anyway, let's take the question before the people, we can always link up. Toby, please, if you can help us get all the details from Shola before the end, so we can drop every, you know, all her details, her LinkedIn, her Instagram, or whatever, all the Twitter, all the social media handle, even if she's on YouTube and all that, so we can drop it for people. Okay, go on. You can ask your question.
So much. I know. So just to write down the last question. Now you talked about, so what about a situation where you want your child to get to a grammar school and the grammar school is not close to where you are? So I'll speak for myself. So I'm in Wigan, and there is no grammar school around Wigan at all. There is not even one. There's not even in Chorley. There's not one in Lee. I mean, these are places that are very close to Wigan. And so the next that is possible is Manchester. Okay, so obviously Manchester is not too far from Wigan, right? But I also have an information that based on what I was told. So I mean, this is just a good platform to clear that out. That getting into a grammar school, even after writing the exam and you do well, that in terms of selection, they go first for people within the vicinity. You know, I mean, I know a couple of people that actually had to relocate to a place because that's where they have a grammar school, and then they'll be closer to the grammar school. So what's the option? I'm not thinking of relocating yet, you know. So from Wigan, so if I have to take my child through the 11 plus and he passes the exam, do I have to also bother myself about, you know, having to relocate? And some even uses an address, maybe address of a friend, you know, close to where the school is and all of that. So what would you advise on this?
Okay, fantastic. There's quite a lot packed in there, but I'll try my best. I would not advise for you to use somebody's address. I mean, some people have done it in the past, they've gotten away with it, and some have had to pay dearly. I do have a story of somebody who, at the end, they cancelled the admission. Yeah, so I would not advise that. That's absolutely wrong. If your child, because we do have the exact, well, we have similar occurrences here. In Thurrock, where I live, there are no grammar schools. The nearest to us are in Southend and in Chelmsford. Like I said, when my daughter was, she had to get up at 5:45. I mean, I don't like, but where there's a will, there's a way. Because we also did not, we were not planning on, because we were not planning on moving out of the area. But if they do exceptionally well, who would not want a child who's done extremely well? They would offer them the place. Okay. From a place of merit. But then it's important to read through, because everyone would have an admissions policy and the admissions, how they subscribe the spaces. So reading through as well. And I always advise parents as well, there's nothing stopping you from picking up the phone and asking, right, I live in this vicinity. How many children from last year did you admit from this postcode area? And they will be able to share with you. And if they say none, you then ask why, and they will be able to share with you. So working with the definites is important. I've had children, as I said, who have just barely just gone past the cutoff mark. They've passed, but they've not been offered a place. Why? Because there are people who've done extremely well or better than they, which is why for me, I'd say to my 11+ parents, if you're not ready to put the work in, there's no point. Put them in the year 5 group where we're just preparing them for year 6 and their SATs. With 11+, you're going to have to walk your socks off. And the kids will tell you, Miss Shola is a dragon with 11+, because I don't like putting the children through all of that rigor. And at the end, they're disappointed. I'm more for the child. I mean, I'll say this, the parent in that regard, because the child would feel, and you don't want this to kind of affect them for life as well. Oh, I failed my 11+. No, so it is a very tough one. But for those who do exceptionally well, they will get a place. They would want them. They would give them a place. I hope that's helps or answers the question. Yeah.
Okay, I thought Bumi was coming up. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am. I was trying to unmute. Yeah, thank you. Is that Bratobi or anyway, we are not taking any more questions for now. Shola, I don't even know the words to use to say thank you on behalf of everyone present here, even those that will still log in later. We thank you for your time. We're not taking it for granted that you found the time to be here. Thank you so much. And please, you can always connect with Shola if you have more questions in whichever way she's able to support. I'm sure she will. Connect with her. I'm sure if you type her name on, if you Google her alone, I'm sure all her social would come up. Shola, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We pray for greater fulfillments for you too on all your endeavors, in all you set out to do.
Amen.
Amen. We are taking a lot back, even though I have grown-up children. I'm taking a lot back too. Maybe for the grandchildren.
Of course.
I'm taking a lot back.
Of course. That's okay. And also just to say, if this is very overwhelming, please just reach out. Do not suffer in silence. I mean, I've said a lot. Of course, from the professional side of things, but then there is also the place for support. Reach out for support, have a support group that you are. Don't do this on your own, because raising children anywhere in the world, talk less this country, is a lot. It takes a lot out of you as the parent. So please do not suffer in silence. Seek help. So yeah, as Bumi said, just Google me and and just or you could reach out to me through Bumi as well. I have to dash now, as I said.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Shola. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to our last session for this year. Is going to be on immigration for this year. It would come up sometime, maybe towards the end of November. You can still come with your questions. New laws, things are changing every day when it comes to immigration. The new government is bringing new things, new opportunities. So please follow us on our social media platforms. They are there. Connect with us, see what we're doing, and we'll bring more to you very soon. Thank you so much for your time. We're not taking it for granted. It's a Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I look forward to tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow the clocks go back. So you have 1 hour extra to stay in bed. Enjoy it. And thank you for joining. Yeah. Bye. Bye-bye, everyone. We'll leave the platform on until people log out in case if you still want to reach us. Yeah. Femi, any other thing to add? And thank you for the team. To Toby Akiwande, thank you. Who also, I'm sure you have been seeing the link of Prolax. Please, you can leave some information. I forgot to mention there. Check them out, to check their website out. We're also grateful to Semudia Mengere. Thank you for always helping. Thank you to the team and to our CEO Femi. Thank you so much for the leadership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.